Hold on a sec. Okay, well, first of all, we are live, but I had it switched. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. Holy match. I'm sitting here because I'm scrambling because obviously you can see we are short guests. Sorry for no intro. I actually had the wrong intro played and queued. Man, talk about a way to start the show. But listen, folks, here we are. It's primetime gaming. I'm Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, we're gonna put on an amazing 2-hour show for you. We are kind of rounding up some guests, obviously, because some people couldn't be here today. Like the mag is traveling. Everborn Saga is running a little bit behind. Dutch is running a little bit behind. And I don't know what happened with Asante. Hopefully he's good. But we do have some backup here in the form of Hargeet Chani. Hey, listen, brother. Listen, we have a lot to get into. The CMA was on full display, and their incompetence was equally on display. I mean, talk about a shellacking. It appears that they were not comfortable with pretty much anything that they brought to the table. Every time they asked for an extension or for something else to be brought into the courtroom at a later date, they were denied. I got to tell you, the more and more we see this thing transpire, the more and more it appears the CMA is going to take a loss on this one. How you doing, man?
Yeah, doing great. We got one more week till showcase time. So next week I won't be on Primetime Gaming because I'll be flying to LA to head into Keely's show for next Thursday. And then the showcase, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we got Sony's disappointing showcase, and then we have the other ones coming. I'm hoping for good stuff, right? So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so it's fun times. It's like our Christmas time now, right? We get to see all the fun announcements, see what we're getting. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it'll be good. Some good announcements coming.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Hey, Asante, what's going on, brother? We didn't know where you were. I'm glad that you are here, that you are fine and A-okay. But listen, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, Crispy Bomb, he's normally now on Friday mornings. We get the saltiness very early, but he's here today, folks, because we're down Mag and a few other people, and he wanted to jump in. First of all, Crispy, thank you so much for joining us. You had a lot to say in the chat. I would imagine you can have a lot to say tonight about the CMA.
How dare we think with logic? How dare we do that? It's going to be a great show, and I kind of want you to hit all the points you want to hit, Boom. So I'm going to leave it at that, but it's great to be here, and I am Batman. I see the bat signal,
and you always respond, brother. I appreciate that.
So I am here, and let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly we do have a lot to get into, and of course, I do got to do a big shout out to Foss Patents and Post Up, who have been on top of this, not only for what has transpired in the last 48 hours, folks, but even when the block came at the end of April, they stood strong. They held the line, as King would say, when everyone was basically throwing their hands up in the air and saying the deal was dead. They said, no, it wasn't. And look where we are. Since that time, there's been 4 major approvals, and the CMA seems to be on their heels. And again, like I said, there's a lot of minutiae in between stuff that we're going to get into. Like I said, after what happened live on the air for us just the other day, the CMA really is they didn't do themselves any justice. And I would imagine, folks, when we heard that Activision had hired for their attorney the former prime minister, and of course, then we learned that Microsoft had hired the Queen's former attorney. You kind of knew the gloves were coming off. They were going to show their fangs immediately, and the CMA were embarrassed. And Asante, they put a lawyer that only had 2 days of prep time, and he was eviscerated more times than I could probably count. I feel bad for him, but I don't know what else to say other than the CMA may look to reverse course because ultimately, based on what we've seen so far, they don't have a case.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. By the way, it's been an interesting few couple of days with the news gods. No, so that day I spent like just and work has been kicking my butt. So I haven't been if you haven't paid attention, I haven't been on the socials as much because work has been kind of kicking my butt. But yeah, someone sent me the link, and I happened to be watching the video on my feed up on my top monitor while I was working, and man, you're just paying attention while you're working, but sometimes you got to stop and look back because it's like Bridgerton meets Law and Order, and it's just really. I expected it to be boring. It was spicy as hell. Like, damn, it was crazy. No, I'm looking forward to like really getting into it. But yeah, man, like that dude got like just ripped to shreds on live teams, and it was just, and it's so appropriate and well mannered while they were ripping him apart. It was glorious. It was great. So yes.
Listen, I'm gonna go first to Crispy because obviously he's a guest here today, and Crispy, look, I'm going to read. There's a lot I'm going to read from because I have a lot of notes. Obviously, when something this big happens, you got to cross the T's, you got to dot the I's. But one of the more prevalent things that were happening during this hearing that was not supposed to be as spicy as it was is the CMA's attempt to stall. They have tried numerous times. Now, I'm going to read a particular quote from Florian Mueller. Obviously, if you don't know who he is, that's Foss Patents on Twitter. I had him last week as a guest with Post Up, and obviously he was on this morning with a special recorded episode with Destin Legary on his YouTube channel, and just dropped knowledge bomb after a knowledge bomb. So here is one of the quotes that he had to say on his official Twitter account, Crispy. He says, the CMA's appalling stalling cannot prevent courtroom disaster, reinforces the idea that closed for business narrative that was announced when this deal was blocked. Justice Marcus Smith, who was the preceding judge, moves forward swiftly and is unconvinced of the agency's market definition. He basically said, like, right there, and it's recorded for everyone to, it's recorded, court documentation now, that he doesn't understand how the CMA came to this idea that cloud is a separate market as opposed to just downloading a game or more importantly, Xbox Game Pass. And that's really what they blocked. I mean, obviously, this is coming off of Crispy, the conspiracy theories that the actual gentleman that, well, I say gentleman being nice on the air, that actually blocked the deal, worked for Sony and for Google, and that just screams conflict of interest. No one seems to be talking about that yet, but I want to get your take on how poorly the CMA presented their case and how damning the two attorneys for both Microsoft and Activision made the CMA just look like this was like varsity versus junior high.
I mean, well, I'll be honest first. I did not watch the 4 hours of what has transpired. I will say, as I've followed Florian, I trust him. I think that his logic, I mean, he does patent, he's a lawyer for patents. So, he does things that a lot of people don't see. All they hear about is you have a patent or you don't. So for him to be so enveloped in this, I just want to say, like, I see a lot of people saying this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. I think you're completely wrong. Okay,
1,000%.
because at the end of the day, patents are actually a much bigger, entity when it comes to what we're talking about right now. And for him to be enveloped in that, because at the end of the day, he's technically a lawyer and he understands, law in some way, shape, or form. He just happens to go for the patents. And in this case, you look at what Microsoft has done as far as cloud gaming, they haven't done much if you really look at it. It's almost been a subsidy to what they're, saying, hey, we have this cloud here. You can use it on your phone. You can use it here and there, but also you can download on your console and this and that. And you can, kind of say, hey, I'm downloading this game. Let's bring it to, okay, I can play this game right now and allow it to download in the background. I mean, this is where we're at. I mean, I'm talking about things that I never thought we'd be talking about, because literally, like, downloading games, until like the past 10 years, I didn't know what the heck that was. That's why, like, 2013 with Xbox, that's why I was like, what are you doing? Like, like having to be a part of the internet, having to do this, all this stuff. I hated it. And now as we've gone along, they've been right. And you look at it and, the market share talk and literally, like, I've seen clips of, them basically citing the US government, which I get it. We're global, like, gaming is global. I understand that. Okay. But we're talking about one single jurisdiction. That is what we're talking about. So this judge is looking at this as one single jurisdiction, which is correct. I mean, is it wrong? I mean, we're not talking about America here. We are talking about the UK, right? It is quite simple, all right? And for this judge to have somebody stutter with questions because they wrote the 500-page document or 400-page, whatever the heck it was ridiculous. And for them to sit here and act like they can't go forward with what they technically wrote and disagreed with and blocked this deal with, there is a problem. Okay. And even like with the, we need to bring in somebody else. Really? Why? Why did you block this deal then? If you need to bring in somebody else, why did you do such a thing? Why did you block it without citing this person to begin with? These are the problems I see. I see a lot of Fox attitude that says, oh, this is the way it should be. You should listen to us. We have to push this behind the FTC. I see a lot of collusion. I see a lot of thought process that apparently the UK is the American government now. Because we just saw South Korea, which has probably one of the largest, with Japan and everybody else, the largest cloud gaming infrastructure in the entire world is the Asia Pacific. Okay? Like, let's be serious. This is ridiculous. All right? It is unnecessary. And this is, at this point, I look at it and at the least, some people are thinking logically and saying, why is this happening? And this is supposed to be, from what Florian said, supposed to be just like, let's put a timeline out. Well, why does the one that has accused Microsoft of doing such things sitting here and saying, well, like, apparently they have to reread what they wrote to begin with when blocking this? It is ridiculous. It is unnecessary. I feel bad for people that actually read half the stuff I did, actually looked at the way they reacted and everything else. And they were appalled. Okay. Which I've seen this in the US government many times. Oh, how dare you ask me this? You know what I mean? I don't even know how to answer. Let me beat around the bush 100 times instead of answering the actual damn question. It is just, it's insane to me. And the worst part is that we look to the UK, we look to the US government to say, okay, what is right and what is wrong? And right now, everybody else is like, nah, you're wrong. Well, why is that? Because they don't have the percentage. Microsoft does not have the percentage that they have. And that judge has read that document twice. He did
as a
say
matter of
that.
fact, Highlander 001 pointed out, said the cat judge went over all of the documents, which was 401 pages, by the way. He read it twice. He read it again over the weekend before the case started on Tuesday. He's invested.
Well, and I mean, you know, that person being a judge, most likely older. I mean, that's what I experienced in our country, you know, most likely, you know, at least 40, somewhere around there, may not know or understand what cloud gaming is. And to say that they have 70% of the market, especially after a couple days later, you allowed Luna to just go rampant. Oh, so Prime, okay, you're a Prime member. Does that mean
18 million
that
customers
cloud
instantly?
does that mean that cloud gaming narrative does not affect anyone because you're also getting other stuff? Is that what it is? Because guess what? As Xbox gamers, we get other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're actually like kind of being nice about this, because you could really go and say like, well, why is this okay, but this isn't? Why? You know? So I'm looking at this and I'm saying it's entertaining to me, because I get interested in things like this, because I also want everybody to do the right thing. And right now, I mean, you saw in what Sony does. Sony was the big, you know, against this. And quietly, Google, Apple, and Amazon are circling around Microsoft as well. In my opinion, they are circling around them and are saying, no, we don't want to allow this. When, you know, you have somebody that lives in the UK, you know, say, well, there's only like 5,000 people that can play at a single time.
Yep.
So how do they have 70% of the market? And I respect the heck out of the people that are calling it out, including that judge who probably doesn't know half as much as we know. You know what I'm saying? But saying, I've read this twice. What are we talking about here? And I think as we go about this, you know, that date for the second hearing might be the
12th.
date where it could be, you know what, we're gonna add another concession. They're gonna take their win in some way. And Microsoft has been willing to talk the whole time, people. If you haven't looked at the news, Microsoft has been trying to talk to them for like so long, including the FTC. They've been trying to talk to them, because at the end of the day, they are too big into what America and UK does as far as other things, that they don't want to burn that bridge. And instead, everybody's like, nah, we're not talking. And I think this judge sees through this and is calling them out with facts and actual good questions. And I think until they actually answer those questions, I think he's going to push it through. Like push the narrative and say, okay, well, you have to answer this sooner rather than later. And until I see something otherwise, I'm going with that thought process.
No, I mean, listen, you make a lot of killer points, and there were a lot of questions. I kind of wonder if the CMA, their representation, stepped in it, because at some point they had made mention to the judge, or really to the court, that Microsoft couldn't close anyway, because even if they tried to, the FTC would file an injunction. And the Activision attorney, I believe that's the way it was described to me by everyone, said, wait, hold on a sec, because no one said that to us. Do you know that for a fact? That's the collusion, because obviously they work together. You wouldn't know that if you didn't work together. this is like one of those novels or those films about corrupt government that you see happening, and you're like, wow, you're pointing at the screen. But folks, this is real life. Hargeet, I want to go to you, but I want to read a particular quote from the judge. Now, we have had experts come onto this show. We've had many experts, that are lawyers that do this for a living, and no question to them, for the most part, the CMA is unopposed. They were the last word. And I've been saying from the beginning, Hargeet, that's true. That is very true. But at the same time, this is a very unique case. This is a $70 billion deal. The implications on the world stage for the UK are incredibly important, because companies are now looking at this, and the CMA just basically stepped in a big pile. Live, because this was televised, everyone is watching this happen. Now, I've said from the beginning, Hargeet, this case is uncharted waters because of the size, because of the ramifications of Microsoft being so invested into the UK for over 4 decades. They're in charge of the security, their cybersecurity. They're in charge. They help with their military. This is more than just stupid Call of Duty. Okay. Well, this is what did it for me, Hargeet. I want to get your hot take on this. This comes the way of Post Up once again, who's been on top of it. The cat judge stated this: "We are not trying to run a script of what we ordinarily would do, but we want to get this done as fast as possible. We aren't here to do what has always been done. We are here to make sure it's done right." That is a powerful statement, and I think really sets the tone to how poorly the CMA wrote this 401-page blocked document.
Yeah. So another interesting note is like the Prime Minister putting his information on LinkedIn, right? He posted his thing. This was done on Microsoft Teams live event. So yet another oddity that instead of the usual, it's a YouTube thing or a Twitch or whatever, like they use Microsoft Teams of all things to stream their court case live. Another little Microsoft thing. It's just kind of an oddity there. But
yeah, definitely strange.
Right. So it might just be that they are that embedded. That could just be it. The government of the UK uses Microsoft and that's it. So this is how it could just be that. But it is interesting to note that this was streamed through Microsoft Teams and not one of the normal streaming methods that we always usually see. But either way, the things that are different about this case, usually in a case like this, there are like 6 or 7 things that would block it, right? The reason this is so weird is we're like, cloud? Really? You got rid of the thing that made sense, which is PlayStation, right? It's going to get hurt. Of course it's going to get hurt. Duh, right? It's not going to get hurt enough, though, that it's going to take its massive market position and diminish it to the point where it can't compete, right? And they figured that out. They got the numbers and they pulled it out. And they were like, cloud, come on. Who's going to block it on that, right? And they did. And you're like, wait, what? What are you doing? So, like, the normal way this happens is you have so many different areas where you would cause problems that even if there was a structural issue, a calculation issue, operational issue, whatever it is, and the cat says, yeah, these 2 items, you got them wrong, but you got 5 more. So sorry, you're still not getting through, right?
Right.
There's only one here. The CMA got rid of everything else. They left one issue. And the issue they left was the one they spent the least amount of time on.
The judge mentioned that. Can you elaborate on that? Because
out of the 32 weeks, they spent 4 weeks on this.
Yeah.
And they actually went and like polled actual PlayStation Call of Duty players to get their opinion. I'm like, dude, well, why did you just go and poll people who play on cloud and ask them, is this something you would play primarily? Is this something you see being a big part of your gaming future? Would you pay for this separately? Do you see Microsoft as a competitor or as the only option? right? These are things they could have done very easily, right?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you do that? If this was something you really thought was a big deal, you could have done. They were not prepared. That's obviously they were looking for an excuse to block this, and they got called out on it, right? The other part of this is that the EU came up with their data and said, no, you're wrong. It's not a separate market, and the numbers don't say that Microsoft is the largest cloud provider. That's just not cloud gaming provider. Obviously, they're very big in cloud, Azure versus the Amazon and Google, but they're not the biggest gaming cloud provider. So in that level, right? So they're like, your numbers are off, right? And if they're coming up with that, this judge actually did a lot of homework over the weekend, right? He read this stuff several times, and he found the rest of the information from the other regulators and said, okay, so what's going on? Why did this come out to be this way, right? The fact that he even mentioned any of these things is very interesting because he didn't need to mention any of it, right? This was intended to be timetables. What do you need to proceed? What blocks are there, right? That's what it's intended to be. And it was not intended to go into any, but he volunteered those things, which is rather intriguing, which is why it's spicy, right? Because you weren't supposed to get all this stuff. You're like, wait, what did he just say? So you can kind of get some leanings. I would caution that this is a done thing, right? So take any victory laps.
Right.
This is
there's still a trial that has to happen. Correct.
Exactly. It's standard procedure as well for judges to say, I don't understand this. You need to bring that evidence to me to make me clear on it, right? So just keep that in mind, right? So it's not like it's done, but that should happen if he's confused about something, right? Because he's like, I see this evidence over here and you're doing it this way. Tell me why. And this is the part where they totally fumbled it. The CMA decided to say, well, we might need more experts. It's like, well, wait a minute. You had experts. You had experts. That's why you made a decision, right? So like you were saying, Crispy's like, wait a second. Why do you need new experts? You had experts, right?
But you know what? It was his explanation that was funny because the judge actually said, wait, hold on a sec. So I don't want an expert coming in here to say, I agree with what he says and move on, which is exactly what a new expert what I want is if you want to bring an expert, bring the expert that actually said that this was going to be market harm. But you know something? Funny enough,
experts agreed with Microsoft.
I happen to have the thing in front of me right now. Now, granted, I want to give credit where credit is due. Senjitsu Saga on Twitter posted this. He said, "Are you guys aware that that it's the things such as this that the CMA asked this bizarre question yesterday of being able to bring in outside and totally new experts due to a lack of internal evidence." And the document that he has provided was now the gentleman's first name is Joost, Joost, and it's I really can't pronounce the name. It's Rudveld, I think it is. He's an associate professor of strategy and entrepreneurship at the UCL School of Management. And according to him, cloud gaming is not a distinct market. Yep. Now, this was posted on the CMA's document.
Yep,
and
I read it.
Hargeet,
it was the only
help
thing
me out
they put
here.
Out there.
I'm quite confused.
He was very clear about it. He understands that it is an emerging market, but he delineated everything. He's like, there's a way to deliver games that are on a different store. You own them, and then you can access them from a provider. There's a subscription model. There's a model where, like Nintendo, where you play the game, but the only way to play it because the performance isn't available locally is you play it through a cloud connection, right? So he delineated all the different options. And he suggested that this was not a different market and that in that there was no potential SLC, right? And I'm reading this, by the way, as the only thing the CMA put out on cloud gaming. And I'm like, this is licked. It's done, right? If this is the only thing they're putting out there and the guy's saying this isn't a problem, then this shouldn't be a problem, right? But apparently not. So the one piece of evidence they have points the other way for them. So this is very odd. It's very interesting, right? So there's plenty of little things that added up to saying you're not making a lot of sense right now, CMA, right? So and they got called out for it. Now, this does not ultimately, it does not mean that this is going to be going the Microsoft way, right? You have to just let the thing play out. But there's enough hints that there are challenges that they will have to handle and come up with answers for that seem to be contradictions, right? So there's an opening, in other words, right? There's an opening. Yeah. And if it comes out that based on the understanding of the judge today, and they cannot convince him otherwise, that this is not a separate market, the SLC is dropped, because then there's no SLC, right? The only SLC that would matter at that point would be the consoles, and CMA themselves dropped that SLC. So they're done.
That's correct.
At that point, the whole thing just gets done. Now, their assumption that the FTC is required to go through their trial to allow the closing, that's actually incorrect. The closing, you can do at any time.
Yeah.
Because our process is that they would have to create an injunction in a federal court to unwind a deal or block it from happening, right? So, and that has not happened. They have not done it, right? They could do that anytime. They have not done it because they know that would move the trial from their internal system to a federal court, and they would lose in a federal court because the federal courts are going to base it on facts and figures,
on evidence,
and they don't have a case. That's just it. They don't have it. Yeah. So I don't even think the administrative judge is, because you can already tell from his language, like, well, what is this stupidity? But I don't think it's even going to pass him. I think it's going to like fail over there. But ultimately, it just falls back to Lena Khan at that point, who can then say, I agree with me, and therefore I'm going to still try to block it. But you have to go into a federal court and block it. Right. So as far as closing, they're past the deadline required for them to wait. That's done. So they could close. If the CMA had not done this, they could close right now. They're done. They could close because the other injunction was from the lawsuit from the gamers. That was thrown out as well. So they're good to close. Now there's Canada, and they're past their deadline. So
which was explained to me. The way it was explained is that if Canada goes past the deadline, that means that they never intended to block, so you can in fact close.
Yep. So they're good to go there.
Yeah.
There's New Zealand, which is a very small territory.
Next week, I think next week is New Zealand.
They're due. Yep, they're due next week. Yeah. And then there's Australia. Which they have not done anything. I think they're just waiting for these big guys to figure things out, and then they'll just kind of.
They might be waiting for New Zealand, to be honest. If I had a thought of
it could be right. And then we got the South Korea one. We've gotten China. We got most of the other territories are done, so they're actually pretty much in good shape. They could close if the CMA hadn't blocked based on cloud. Of all things. So,
now, Hargeet, we were talking in behind the scenes, and I kind of want you to reiterate this because maybe some people don't know. Based on how the CMA had their ass handed to them live on the air for everyone to see, and based on the fact that the judge is so well versed that he read through the 401 pages twice, so he obviously stated. I'm not convinced that cloud is a separate market. You're going to have to convince me, to change my mind, right?
Yep.
Is there a chance that the CMA looks at what's happening, the writing's on the wall, and they go and they say, you know something, we are going to, because there's from what I understand, there's room for them to pivot. To then say we have new evidence. They haven't done
a final report. Exactly. Right. They have not done their final report. This was just this is what we're going to do, and it's open for inquiry.
They can, in fact, change their mind, correct?
So they can change it. They can change it and then say, no, we've updated it, and this is our new finding, and this is what we're going to publish as our final report. So they could absolutely do that. I mean, right now it behooves them to just work a deal, right? The best thing they do is, sometime in the next week, is just work a deal where they can get some advantage. I don't know that they will. It now comes down to just how much of a position they want to take, how much they're invested in this position, and how much is politics. I don't know how much it's if it's politics, then they're going to stay where they are, right? But if it's they are just they fully firmly believe that this is a bad thing for all of humanity. They have to stop this big, huge, massive deal about gaming. Fine, they can sit on that. Or they could just see the writing on the wall. The government is annoyed. The world is watching them saying, what are you doing? And their own process is telling them you're on shaky ground, right? So they should just say, what can we get out of this, and go get something, right? And obviously, as you've said, Microsoft is more than willing, and like even the lawyers are saying, we're more than willing to talk at any point. Let's talk about what we can do to solve this. They should do that, but I don't know if they will. It really just comes down to where they are in their headspace as to how important it is for them to block this or not, right? But it does look like it is possible that this could get entirely thrown out. There are 3 judges that are going to be in this. I just want to point that out. This is one of them.
We only heard from the one. There were 2 others. Yes,
and I don't expect that it's going to get better for the CMA, because the next one is going to be somebody that's an economist. This person is more on the IP, patent side, and then there's going to be one that's an economist who's going to look at impact to business and investment. Right. So, and in that case, it's clearly not a good thing. And the reason it's not a good thing, it's not because, Microsoft should get whatever they want. It's you have an incumbent 80+% market share leader, and you have a smaller player saying, we're willing to compete with that. To do that, I need to buy something so that I can push forward. Right. And they're like, no, there's a side little thing over there that maybe is a potential issue that we think is an issue, and that's going to block it. It's like, dude, you have to look at the thing where people are actually being affected today, with the majority of the actual spend, where it's on PlayStation. That's just a fact, right? They're the big chunk of the gaming industry as far as revenue. You have to look at that and say, why wouldn't you want to solve that problem versus this thing that could potentially be a problem 20 years from now? And nobody else believes that but you. So, like, yeah,
you know what's interesting, Hargeet?
So that is where it's a problem. That's why it's bad for business.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting, Hargeet? This deal attacks a duopoly in the App Store that is currently run by Google and Apple, right? Microsoft gets King, right? They're currently working on their own App Store, which is going to be an open App Store to everyone, right?
Yep.
This gives Sony a run for their money because obviously Sony has almost 80% of the market. So what this deal ultimately does, especially and more specifically for the UK, it brings competition. And this is where the conundrum is. This is where I sat again. Kay Asante, I called him just before 7 a.m. on the 26th of April. I'm like, I can't believe they blocked it on cloud. Like, are we living in bizarro world? And here we are. We're a couple of months removed, and we're heading into June. And the CMA, they look even more ridiculous. And I think if there's one thing I've learned, and I know criminal law is different than civil law and business law, but I can tell you with an absolute fact that judges do not like to have their time wasted with stupidity, and they get very aggravated at that. And I'm going to be honest with you, the judge seemed a bit aggravated, and you kind of don't want to do that. And like I said, the CMA through one of the things that I saw that Kay Asante had made mention to me is they had said, well, we can't get another attorney because we may be on vacation. Holy freaking cow, man. Like I can't, look, I'm flabbergasted. When I actually heard those words, I'm like, oh, they're dead. We might be on vacation, Your Honor, so we're gonna have to push this to September. Sorry. I mean, it's
that was classic. I was like, what are you even talking about? There's no lawyers in the country.
It's unbelievable. Again, we're saying this, folks. This actually happened. So I do want to bring in Mr. Asante, who what I can ask you, Kay, is you got a chance to watch the stupidity transpire live. You watched it. You saw it. You when we talked, you're like, boom. I'm not even sure what I was watching. I had people DMing saying that this was better than Sony's show. That's how funny some of the stuff was. For you, what was your overall feeling? What were some of the highlights and lowlights of this? And again, remember, folks, this was 4 hours long, and Hargeet said it, Crispy said it. It was not supposed to be this spicy. It was
supposed to be boring. Yeah, it was supposed to be very, very boring. And the only thing that I regret following was the rules, which explicitly said over and over again at the bottom of the stream that you were not allowed to record the stream. Man, I wish I had recorded the stream. Anyway, So no, as the great esteemed panel members have already really put it succinctly, there's just a lot happening in this situation, right? Like it was supposed to be very rudimentary, it's supposed to be boring, just a couple of back and forth as to the process by which the debate will be held. The debate itself should have not been held at this time. It should have just been low-hanging fruit, if you will, timing and all of that. So it was really, really interesting that they kind of got into it. And as you pointed out, Boom, I thought it was super, super interesting that the judge himself already jumped in feet first and just started talking about how he himself does not he's read the document, which, people were just like, well, okay, and he himself does not understand how a delivery mechanism can be seen as a market, and I'm just like, oh boy, and as soon as he said that, Mr. Beard was kind of gave that like knowing like giggle, like, well, that's ironically why we're here, Your Honor, it went downhill after that. It's just so interesting to me that the UK would really put themselves out like this, right? And you guys know we've been here through all of the balls and strikes. We have been here basically on our square. You can look at the digital receipts, right? I have been here. Boom has been here. So has Hargeet. We've been basically saying how we feel about these situations as the situations have been arising, and I've always been like square with it. Give me a good reason you're blocking. I'm fine with it. Just give me a good reason, right? 100%. Hargeet and I disagree on the importance or the future of cloud, but still, one thing we definitely do agree on is the fact that is not a factor in this equation. Like that has nothing to do with this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just so unique that they've already concluded that it is the SLC. But you can't even get a consensus whether it's a market that can stand on its own 2 feet. And oh, by the way, if you have proof that it is a market that can stand on its own 2 feet, where's your homework, UK? Right? No homework presented. So either it was just so interesting how this whole thing played out, where the judge is basically saying, you're saying that this market, and as Hargeet pointed out, they came to this conclusion at the last, like the 8th inning, right? It was literally the anthem of the regulatory world, right? You spent your entire timeline doing absolutely BS, and then the last 15 minutes of it, you just kind of cobbled something together and went, see? That's literally what happened here, right? So they're like, okay, so you spent all this time eliminating console as an SLC, right? And eliminating and finding out that Call of Duty, as important as it is not a factor that can move the needle that much, right? Even though it is important. You spent a bunch of your time basically saying, nope, this is not a factor in the equation. Good for you. Console SLC is no longer a factor. And then in the very last minute, and by the way, if we ask you to prove how you came to that conclusion, you can provide us hundreds upon hundreds of pages of documents proving what painstaking process you went through to get to your conclusion, right? But then when we ask you, okay, so console SLC not a factor in the equation, let's move along. What about, cloud? You go yada yada yada, believe us. Where's your homework, right? And it seems like they used the homework that they did for the console SLC, right, to then adjudicate the cloud. But you yourself have come to the point that, hey, this is a separate market, and every market is different and has different nuances. So if it is a separate market, then how is it that are you applying the same logic from A to B? You can't do that because it's a separate market based on your own saying, UK regulatory body, right? But if you are using it to adjudicate both sides of the house, then you have to admit it's the same market. And if it's the same market, then there is no new market and the SLC doesn't exist. So either way, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here with all of it. And of course, they knew that. And what did they do? They hired somebody 2 days before the hearing to go and face the music on it. Or I don't know, maybe they thought that the music would not be faced there, so you can just go ahead and rubber stamp things, and then we'll get our real lawyers and play later.
You know, it's funny. Hold on a sec. That is an incredible point because I said this from the beginning. I'm like, wait, hold on a sec, because you brought this to my attention. Said, boom, that guy, they hired the guy 2 days ago. I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
they hired the guy 2 days ago. So I was like, well, he's going to get slaughtered because there's no way you're going to be able to, even if you stayed up for 24 hours, 12 hours a day reading, you're not going to be able to, grasp everything that's happening. And I think
isn't it kind of like
you're onto something?
Isn't it kind of like that movie you've seen where they have the informant or the witness, and they go, no, don't worry, you have nothing to worry about. Just wear this wire and go out there. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to know a damn thing. Just smile, and everything will come together. And of course, the minute you walk out there with the necklace with the camera on it, they start peppering you with 20 questions. And you're like blah 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 blah, which is exactly what he was doing at the hearing. The dude started getting a little flabbergasted and started not knowing. But we have vacations, Your Honor, and what do we? They wanted extra time, and they're like, well, Microsoft didn't get extra time. How come you could get extra time?
It's funny because the judge actually did say hilarious. That. He said that, he goes, I don't understand. He goes, you gave Microsoft 30 days to respond, to read through the 401 pages. And even the Microsoft's attorney says, and then you instead of doing what you needed to do for today's case, you sent us 500 pages of legal information of why you blocked. So it was a total of 900 pages, and you couldn't get ready with the 20 pages that we sent you. Pretty embarrassing, dude.
The best part about all of this is there's a lot of burden of proof here on them, which will be very interesting to see them wiggle themselves out of. I really, really hope that Teams chat comes back to life and we get to see all of this unfold, because it is super interesting. Because, okay, assuming you can convince them that it is a market, right? You convince them it's a market. How you'll do that will be very interesting, because how you prove that it's a market is you have to go talk to market participants. You have to go and get all the research done and get their pain points and how they feel about it, right? So which market participant will you get? Google, who literally had to close the door 5 minutes ago, right? You'll get Luna, who's been tiptoeing around the market for a long time and barely just dipped the toe in. And then you'll also get all your second party kind of members who, oh, by the way, you gave Microsoft a list of, because you were worried that they were going to foreclose on them, and they gave them deals. So all of them are already you were already on their hit list, because after you got them a deal, you then foreclosed on the deal itself by then canceling the deal, right? So they don't want to hear from you right now, right? So it's super, super interesting. If you wanted to prove that it's a market, you'd have to go out there and talk to those people. But they didn't do any of that. They didn't talk to any of those market participants, right? So where's your research? If you don't have the research, then it's going to be super interesting for them to prove that it's a market. But let's say, assuming they prove it's a market, then the second thing is to prove that Activision Blizzard was going to go put their games on cloud just as a matter of course, even though they themselves have said on multiple occasions publicly that they don't think that that's their business model and it doesn't work.
Didn't they pull all of their content from GeForce Now?
Hey, I was day one. I was part of the GeForce Now wave. I enjoyed it. It was like the reign of gaming coming towards us. We had all the stuff, and then all the publishers recognized what we were doing and took their ball and went home. And guess who was part of that wave? Activision Blizzard. They took it off the service and they took it home. And even though all the others eventually came back because GeForce opened the wallet and struck a deal, what did Activision Blizzard say? No soup for you. There was no amount of money that could be given that would have allowed them to bring the service back. So now it is up to you, CMA UK, to prove that they were going to do that, bring it to the cloud, even though that you've seen their actions and you've heard their words say the contrary.
Yeah, they don't believe the executive team. They believe somebody who is analyzing the market, right?
Good luck proving that. And right. And even the best part about that is, don't take Bobby Kotick's word for it. Don't take it. You guys love experts, so get an expert. Guess what would happen? All you'd have to do is go get an expert. An expert would come, and this would be an expert in gaming because we're talking about Call of Duty here. All you have to do is talk to an expert in gaming, and they'd go, yeah, cloud is great. We probably hypothesized that Microsoft wants to put this thing in there for the campaigns, but the real bread and butter is multiplayer, and that doesn't work in the cloud. So there's no reason to use it there anyway. Problem solved. Yeah. This is proof that they wouldn't be putting it there because multiplayer doesn't work well in the cloud in its current iteration.
Yeah,
problem solved. That's it.
Doesn't the UK have bigger stuff to worry about for the consumers?
Clearly they don't.
A dozen eggs is $12 or 12 pounds. So yeah, they have more problems to deal with in the UK. You see the problem here,
you already mentioned, which is that the mobile space has that duopoly, which is really two monopolies because there are two different platforms and there's only one store on each.
Yeah,
and that is a bigger problem because that's where all of the people are actually computing these days, right? Everything else is fallen by the wayside. The vast majority of computing happens on a smartphone these days, and that's a big deal. And that one they don't care about. Okay, they make a joke out of it in their actual dissertation when they said they blocked the deal. That that's funny that Microsoft wants to be in the mobile space, like, or whatever. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and also let's add to that. Let's be serious here, okay? Subscription services. Well, guess what? Prime is a subscription service. If you didn't know, okay.
Yeah,
so that argument is null and void because you have what I'd say 20 times what Microsoft has right now.
But see, that's also fuzzy math that they're using, right? Clearly that's what they're doing, but that's wrong because just because you are a subscriber to this multi-tiered service doesn't mean you've ever touched it. I mean, I'm a Prime member. Have I ever used Amazon Music? Not a day in my life. Doesn't mean I'm an Amazon Music user.
I have, but I haven't used Prime Gaming. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
So it's just delivery to your service, and that's the whole point. It doesn't mean that cloud
that's right.
in general is the end all be all, and I think that's the way that the CMA has acted, and this judge happened to call it out.
And honestly, let's be honest about ourselves here. Let's be real. Just like the FTC, they were trying to find a way of threading that big tech bad needle, find a way of making it go away. FTC went mustache twirly and stupid. They went this route. It's a bit more strategic, but not by much. You know what I mean? They went really foolish with it, right? To the point where it seemed like they were on an island, but now it looks like all the others, some of the others, another pair of others had the same thing in mind to the point where they were kind of comparing notes back and forth, but really when you look at it, this is just not it. Like, give us a real argument because cloud is not it. I think Everborn, I hate giving that man so much credit. He said something that actually really does resonate right now that I thought was interesting. It's the analogy of you go to the Apple store, you buy a game, or actually pick your delivery method, pick your game, your movie store. You go, you buy a movie, you want to play it, you're going on a plane, and the question is, are you going to go on a plane and have Wi-Fi and watch your movie, or do you not have Wi-Fi on this plane, so you download it first so that you can watch it without Wi-Fi, right? So are you then telling me by the very nature of you clicking stream versus clicking download, you're accessing two separate nascent markets? That is ridiculous and stupid. Like this, that's like saying I'm walking into McDonald's. That's a different store than if I go into the drive-through. That's the dumbest point.
Yeah, that's
ever.
A great point, dude. What a fantastic point.
It's a different delivery method to get you the same thing that you paid for that you're trying to access.
What the judge said. It's like, can I just
So good luck proving it's a different market,
Yeah.
This is one of those situations that, again, we've heard from numerous sources. The different people have, injected their opinions on the whole situation, saying that, that standard fare, and it has gone like this on many occasions where it would be sent back to the CMA only for the CMA to spend, the next year blocking it. I think, and again, it was brought to our attention by Foss Patents that that may not be the case here. And as a matter of fact, that the that the CMA has proven that they don't have what it takes to make a proper decision, that Cat would probably make it for him. If Cat turns around, let's say, for instance, goes all the way to through, right, and it goes all the way through to August in trial, and Cat says, yeah, there is no separate market, there's no SLC. I think ultimately they would just approve it right then and there. At that point, there's no reason to send it back to Cat, because they've proven the one thing that they're blocking this deal is on cloud. If the Cat determines through the evidence, which is very incredibly available, there's no reason to send it back to the CMA. Now, this is where we get into the conversation, guys, of whether or not the CMA sees the writing on the wall. And obviously we're gonna. I was hoping to get, before we moved on to the next topic, we'll talk about Microsoft's showcase, which rumors are starting to pop up, and depending on who you listen to, in my opinion, Microsoft has a real opportunity, specifically Xbox has an opportunity to really take back market share that they lost. If they can show their first-party games like we think they're going to be there, and we get gameplay and we get release dates, Sony did not do themselves any favors. As a matter of fact, Dustin Legary he wrote an article for IGN, as he does, because that's where he works, where he says the PlayStation showcase was good for Xbox. And he's not wrong, folks. What Sony did is, first of all, this is Jim Ryan Sony, folks. If you're a PlayStation fan and you like the quote-unquote single-player bangers, I hate to tell you, you're probably only going to get the room or two per year, if that much. He wants to make money. He's a businessman. He's not a gamer. And he wants to make money on gas games. And, I mean, I don't know who told him the games that he showed were good, because those games were all terrible. I mean, especially the one that was a Splatoon ripoff. Wow, talk about just garbage. But listen, before we get to that, I do want to just pose one other question, to the panel and to the chat. If you guys and gals, we have 800 people here. First of all, that's crazy that we have that many people here. If you are finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. I do this 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. 5 different panels, 5 different shows, all great content, no negativity, no hate, no nonsense to get you to click and subscribe. It's all good content, and we have a lot of fun when we do this. But Crispy, do you think we're going to see in the coming weeks that the CMA sees the writing on the wall and just bends the knee and makes a deal?
I mean, it's one of those weird things that you look at it and you say, how far dug in are they? I mean, when you see 37 other jurisdictions say, no concessions, we're good. Now, a few of them were waiting for the EU to get their concessions, which Xbox rightfully said, we're going to make it worldwide. I mean, so, but it's like 5 right now. Like I said, when South Korea with no concessions, I mean, obviously they know they're going to get the concessions that the EU put forth, because Microsoft's not going to do that. They're not going to be like, let's single out one part of the world and say, no, we're good. I mean, that would go against, the entire, approval rating of what they have going on. The only thing is the CMA going to sit there and try to fight this, even though they, and basically everybody on this panel and many people that think logically, the argument is irrelevant. It makes no sense. Are we going to go to that point? I don't know. I'm appalled, even at our FTC. I live in America, arguing about this. I mean, you have literally allowed Apple, Disney, Amazon, all these, all Google, they have just ran rampant over this entire, digital industry. That's what I'll say. Even Facebook, I mean, they got a slap on the wrist, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Compared to what was answered in front of me when I watched Mark Zuckerberg actually answer the questions, they got a slap on the wrist. Why is Microsoft so different than everybody else? No, actually, they're trying to do the right thing, in my opinion, compared to what all these other companies are doing. So I question both these countries because, in general, I mean, the UK and the United States have been countries to look towards. And how do they come to this conclusion when all these other countries that see the benefit from it? So are we saying that their opinion doesn't matter? That's where I feel like the CMA needs to, after the show, because apparently that's the next hearing as of now, after the show, form their opinion. Now, one thing I hope, it is the day after as of now. I hope that Xbox does not hold back.
Because I agree.
We're
going to get into that too.
These are your studios that you already own. Allow them to show us what we want to see.
Yep.
And they already are owned by you. Don't worry about what these people that are trying to make this magical thing happen. Oh, we were all with PlayStation until we figured out that we could get an argument and say that cloud gaming is something right now. How does Microsoft have 70% CMA? And they don't even know how to answer it, man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's not true. Like, let's be truthful here. Let's be logical. Like, it's not even possible right now. You have
that's the thing, Crispy, though.
Farm that has the ability.
But this is the issue, right? Crispy, I think the issue you're having is you're taking them seriously, thinking that their issue is serious. They needed an excuse. They found an excuse.
Yep.
They don't even understand the excuse they found. They're just using it.
I mean, I've went down that rabbit hole, Asante. I really have. Like it's really like what it comes down to is that the FTC, in my opinion, we're going to go there now. The FTC approached them and said, you need to block this because we need a leg to stand on. And that's because of Lena Khan. And unfortunately, especially in America, it's completely political driven. That is all it comes down to, rather than the consumer. Like when people, like, I have solar panels, I see people paying $300-$400 for 1 month of electricity. Why are you worried about a gaming company that gives you an option? It makes absolutely zero sense. It is ridiculous. But somehow the CMA is the one that actually did something and blocked them. But everybody else is like, nah, I'm good. I mean, I was looking to South Korea to be like, nah, we're going to take more time. No, they just approved it. Do you know why I looked to them? Yeah. Because you cited cloud gaming, and that is one of the majority of cloud gaming or mobile gaming services. And that's what Microsoft has literally said. We are more about King than anything else. We want to get into mobile gaming. So both South Korea said, nah, we're good. And that's where I go and say, like, Japan said, nah, we're good. China said, well, now we're good. So why is America and the UK sitting here arguing about this? Now, you could say, oh, we're looking towards them to make the right decision. Is everybody else irrelevant? That's what I say. And that's where I go and say, why are we even talking about this right now. It's stupid. It's illogical. Why? Come on, man.
Dude, listen, you're passionate. We love that about you, brother. And obviously you brought the thunder, and it's the truth. Why are we even having this conversation? I don't know, but it was proven how stupid the CMA's argument was, and they were made to look like a bunch of asses in front of, like I said, live on camera. Hargeet, is there a chance this reckoning, this embarrassment, this thrashing that took place live on the air where the guy was stuttering? I thought it was a joke. Like, this is something out of Police Academy. That's how ridiculous it was. And here we are. No, this is a real thing. Do you think there's a chance that they looked at this, the CMA, the head of the CMA looked at this and like, you know what? We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose so badly. Let's save face. Let's make a deal. Let's ask for an additional concession, because if you didn't know, this morning, president of Microsoft was interviewed, and he had a lot of very interesting things to say about. Listen, we will, instead of just blocking, let's work towards getting a solution, instead of just blocking the solution. And he was right for saying that. From Brad Smith, I know that it's, again, ask the experts, Hargeet. They're going to tell you there's no way. People in the chat right now are saying, boom, you're crazy. They dug their heels in. They're not going to go for it. I think the more we see of this case, the more unusual shit is going to happen, dude.
Yeah, so I would suggest we should wait until that June 12th hearing.
Couple weeks, 2 weeks,
because they now have the opportunity to sort of respond, right? So
yes.
There was the potential that this person was not very up to speed on everything, right? You only had a couple of days, fine, fair enough, right? But now they can go back, regroup, and come back, right? If they're getting the same sort of vibe that this is not happening, right, then you can kind of go into that mindset of saying, look, we should just figure out what's happening here and try to do something good for ourselves, right? Again, it comes down to them recognizing it, right? They have to, be open to the fact that, hey, it looks like this may not go our way, right? So if they do, then yeah, it is a possibility. I'd still say, unfortunately, I think they're going to, like the chat is saying, dig in. And so I'd say it's about a 40% chance that they will, 60% chance they won't. They'll let the whole process go through, right? I think that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. But that's still a substantial amount that they may actually just do that, right? If in June 12th they find out, hey, we came in much more prepared and we're still getting our asses handed to us, like, all right, maybe it's time to, cut our losses here and try to get some concessions, right? Because now you have the leverage to do so. If it's thrown out, it's thrown out, right? So they kind of need to take advantage. So it's up to them to do that. So there is a possibility. I mean, this is very unprecedented. The whole thing is very unprecedented, right? So we are in weird territory. And I know there's this spat between the Foss Patents and the Luke Steeles, and it's like, well, Luke is very knowledgeable about what's going on.
Oh no, he does this for a living.
He's right that this does not happen, right? So, but yeah, I mean, there is a possibility. Anything is possible, right? We can't take it out of potential, but it is very, very weird that this is happening. But so far, it does look like it's not going the way the CMA normally goes. So, and it's interesting, like you pointed out early, where the judge is like, we're not here to do what we used to do. We're here to do what the right thing is. And so it's just, there's many hints here, right? And hopefully they're reading between the lines. But I think they wait till the June 12th, right? Let's go through that. And if we're seeing the same kind of pushback, we've given it our all to, get everything lined up, and we're still seeing pushback on everything. It's like, well, we should just read the room and potentially do something. I think they should. And if they're sensible, they would, right? So I give it about a 40% chance. Yeah, they might do that. But unfortunately, I still think majority chances they will not. They will stick to their guns and wait it out. So
it's possible. Hey, listen, before we move on to Kay Asante, we have a special guest joining us.
Close the door.
What's going on, dude? How's everything?
What's good, people? What's popping with the population?
You happen to stroll in at the perfect time. We're talking about the embarrassment of the CMA that happened. You were on top of everything, as you always are. Everyone on the panel has already given their take, but you know what, dude? I want to get yours because I saw you and Foss going back and forth. You put a tremendous amount of work, as you normally do, when it comes to ABK. I want to get your raw, because we haven't talked, since this happened. So I'm excited because I'm going to experience your answer like everybody, the 825 people we have here. Dude, how bad was this for the CMA? And how bad was this for their case against Activision and Microsoft to block the merger?
I was perplexed. And I know we still have a long way to go because this is just a case. This was just a case management hearing.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Where they're trying to, solidify dates, get all the paperwork in order on what the CAT expect from Microsoft side as well as on the CMA. Interveners, get all that stuff, all the witnesses and all that stuff, and how all that stuff is planned out. And to be this unprepared for a case that you came out and doubled down on saying you was going to block, you would have thought they would have been more prepared.
Right.
2, this is the case. We're in uncharted territories. This is the first of its kind. This is the biggest merger case that the CMA has ever had to deal with. So in relations to that, you would think they would have came on top of their game and not be standing in front of a judge crying about not having enough lawyers and then hiring a lawyer 3 days prior to the hearing and then hiring a lawyer that was pretty much lost in the weeds and getting smacked around the whole time. There's 3 critical dates ahead. June 7th is where all the paperwork and the documentations that they talked about at their previous hearing, I think is supposed to be submitted to CAT. June 12th is a second case management hearing, right? And then after that, the provisional hearing is on July 24th. That's the hearing where Microsoft and the CMA will fight both sides of their perspectives on this merger. I do think the CMA is in a lose-lose situation, right? If you're in front of the judge and you're asking the judge, well, hypothetically, if there's technical or incontrovertible errors in this case, and pretty much we've got it wrong, can we get a do-over? No, it don't work like that.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
That was pretty crazy that they even suggested that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the process of saying that, right, you're asking for a independent agency to come in and look at your errors to see if the errors are there and make that decision. And the judge say, no. Why would we allow you to go get an independent agency that's going to agree with you? No, we want someone internal, the economists, I mean, that you had working on this. We want it from them, because we're not going to allow you to bring somebody in that's just going to agree with you.
So post what you're saying is, AKA, we want the dude that fills your head with the bullshit to come to court and have a conversation with us. Is what we're asking.
Exactly. And then only that though, you still haven't submitted any evidence to Microsoft or CAT regarding how you came to the conclusion you came to, right?
Yep.
That's
show your homework.
You didn't show your home, and you still haven't showed it. And another thing is, this market definition, you didn't even go to no cloud provider.
Right.
You have them in your own country.
Yeah.
You're sitting up here saying you're protecting the market in these cloud providers, and you didn't even go to you know why you didn't go to them? Because their definition of the market doesn't coincide with your own. And it wouldn't have fit your agenda that you already had predetermined to block this deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Get him.
And another thing, everybody tried to criticize us and
I saw it.
wave the
saw it.
conspiracy flag about Lena Khan and the CMA.
I see the victory flag coming. I see the pimp walk coming. Go ahead.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And let me put some powder on these hands. We finna slap some people with some baby powder today. You feel me?
I knew that was gonna happen. Go ahead, sir.
Let me tell you something. They waved a conspiracy flag and made fun of us because we was talking about Lena Khan and Sarah from the CMA colluding with each other. Well, when the judge asked about the FTC and that conversation was taking place, and the lawyer from the CMA told the judge, well, what did he say specifically?
Yeah, he said that
they're going to file an injunction.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Microsoft's lawyer said, well, how do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you get that? You're not privy on. Are you privy on the United States law system? How you know what the FTC going to do?
Exactly.
Mm.
And see, that's the gotcha moment. Post.
Well, but let's be fair here, though. Let's be fair. We are all speculating that's the next step in all of this, right? So it could be said that we're just reading the tea leaves as to what's coming up next, but it does speak to that excellent point of, hey, we already know you and them are kind of planning it together.
Yeah,
and that was a perfect time.
And that's why he asked for discovery.
That knife. Yeah,
that's why he asked for discovery. That's why he asked for discovery. I need all communications.
Yep.
Not what CMA has said to other regulators, but what regulators have said to the CMA. We need all that. Text messages, even phone calls. Put it on the line. Put it on the table. We need everything.
Because wrong
to do that.
And what I just realized is that I thought about this today. I didn't realize that hearing was a public hearing.
Yes.
And I could only imagine how many people was important people, big tech, other regulators, investors and things like that around the world that was actually on that call listening to that CMA go but that's all, folks. Who couldn't put let me tell you something. Who couldn't put a coherent sentence together. And it's crazy because Microsoft sent them what? I think a 6 or 11 page.
It was a total of 20 pages.
Right.
A post. It was 20
and they
pages.
sent Microsoft back 500 pages of bullshit. Crap.
Yeah, they did. So it was a total of 901 pages for Microsoft, 20 pages for the CMA, and they couldn't figure it out.
And that was to try to overload the lawyer's sensory.
Yep.
To try to intimidate them, or at least prolong the process of them filing an appeal within a 4-week span time. But Microsoft hired some of the best. And when I believe it when that tweet came out that said Brad was working 24/7 getting that appeal process done. They started the same day it was denied.
Yep. Under an hour after it was announced, they said, we're going to appeal this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they started this, had to, because if you're intentionally sending 500 pages of bull crap law, we don't need to know what is this. So if you're setting your decision in terms on why the deal should be blocked, right? And you have credible and factual information in terms of that foundation, why the hell you sitting up here talking about we need more time? Why are you trying to prolong this to October and November?
Why do you need experts? Why do you need more experts? You have all the information.
You had an opportunity to get experts.
Hey, I'm interested to get your thought and theory when they said, well, our attorneys might be on vacation.
Man, bro. And you know why? Oh, because they're on the same, and that's how I know they're running the same game plan that Lena Khan is.
Yeah,
with the administrative law judge.
Yeah,
they are stalling because they want the shareholders to make the decision to walk away. And I will say this, Boom. We was bamboozled. We was led astray by the CMA percentages in terms of appeal.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
You know 100%. Why the CMA appeal rate is so high? What is it, around 66%, somewhere like that? You know why is it so high? Because most companies walk away.
Yes.
It ain't the fact that they're winning the appeals. It's the fact that most companies walk away.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the hearing, right? I'm looking at the hearing, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff take place in that hearing that I was told couldn't be possible. Oh, they can't submit new evidence. They can't do this. They can't get no experts. They can't add nothing this and that and that. They can't do this. And I'm looking at this hearing like, well, I was told none of this is possible.
Yep.
What's going on? Well, let's talk about it. We're gonna have a good show today. What's going on?
And here we are. Here we are. Every inconceivable theory of what used to happen or what usually happens with the CMA, all of that was thrown
out the window. Yeah,
right out the window. Yeah,
thrown right out the window because this is unprecedented. This is new. It's even new to the cat.
Yeah, well, it's uncharted. We've all been saying it. The quote from most people is, "This is uncharted territory. A deal of this big has never happened before." And what was interesting is, like we've heard from, again, a lot of experts have put their 2 cents in and said, well, it normally gets sent back to CAT. CAT looks at it, they block it, the end of the deal. CMA has ultimate power. No one can challenge the CMA. They're independent.
That's untrue.
They're also funded by the government.
Yeah.
FYI, and they can be taken out by the government and replaced by the government. Just if you didn't know,
the CAT can quash too. The CAT can quash it and doesn't have to send it back to the CMA, and they have done that before.
This is, well, if that's before we move on to the Microsoft part of the show post. Mm-hmm. I do want to ask you that if the one block is quashed. Mm-hmm. Right. Let's say this goes all the way through July 24th to trial. Mm-hmm. CAT comes back and says, you know what? There is no there is no cloud SLC. Mm-hmm. It's their case is over. That's it. It's done. It's not getting sent back for CAT for them to go and redo the homework. Yeah. I mean, to the CMA, it's just done.
Yeah, unless if the CAT has the ability to quash it and not send it back to the CMA and say, look, we don't think this needs to go back into your hands. We just going to quash this here. There's no cloud SLC. Microsoft can move along with the approval. If they remand it back to the CMA, they're going to remand it back to the CMA with some stipulations saying, hey, y'all need to fix this, fix that, work out a solution. I think it's a possibility. And I'm not saying it's true, that a deal get done between Microsoft and the CA prior to the July. You understand, the UK is punching above their weight. When they was with the EU, they didn't handle large mergers. They only handled the small ones. The EU, the European Commission, handled mergers like this. But anything that was like small or anything like that, that went to the CMA when they was a part of the EU. And then the European Commission handled all the big major acquisitions. So this is a first for them. They're literally punching above their weight.
Post real quick to your point. I kind of want to get some clarity on that. So if I understand you correctly, so if we're saying this correctly, that means that in this hypothetical world where CAT has gone through the process, analyzed, found it to be wanting, right, and then decide whether to bring it one way or another, that would be presumably, based on the information we know now, that would be that Microsoft has successfully again proven that the CMA used wrong information. Maybe we don't know exactly where they're going, but most likely a combination of, hey, the cloud market numbers that you use were wrong versus all the other things. Yeah. Could that be the stipulation that could Microsoft then request that, hey, since your CMA has gotten these numbers, we've given them the numbers, they've gotten it wrong twice.
twice. Yeah,
we don't want to go through this whole process and have them get it wrong again. Can we request that it gets bypassed by the CMA?
I think
because they have failed the numbers twice.
I think the cat judge sees that. I don't think Microsoft even has because the way that the Judge Smith, his name, he didn't agree with none of the shit that the CMA was saying. Even their perspective of cloud
delivery methods,
the delivery method, saying, look, you still need a device to access. So he like, what are you talking about? So and another thing is that we was told this shit was gonna be 9 months, a year, 2, 3. Man, this thing they trying to do this stuff in less than a week.
They said that they're going to fast track this because obviously they know that the deals, the expiration date is July 18th.
See, but we was told that you can only fast track in certain situations.
Yeah, I remember that.
Those situations are this one.
We was told a lot of stuff.
So, Asante, to your point, there's two ways it could go, right? One is that what Post Up is saying, like the entire decision that this is a separate market leads to the potential of a monopoly of that market. If it's not a separate market, that's gone. The SLC is gone.
No, of
because
course,
there's no market, right?
Yeah, no,
so that eliminates the whole thing.
And if it is a separate market, how did you come to that determination? Show us your work.
And that's what the CMA couldn't explain. Go ahead.
And then, exactly. And in that case, yes, it could go back to the CMA, right? To say you got your numbers wrong. Now go recalculate and figure it out again, right? They could do that. The cat could also just say, look, we look at this. We got the EU numbers. That's what they did. Why can't we just presume that's correct and just say that's what we're going to do, right? They could do that too. But there is the more likely situation. Usually the cat would say, hey, you got these numbers wrong. Fix this piece. Go analyze again, right? But in the case of if they say this is not a separate market, which is where they're leaning right now, it's over. It's done because the SLC goes away.
Yeah. And the EU told them. The EU told the CMA before they made their decision, before the CMA made their decision. That's what Vestager was getting at.
Yeah.
We told you that your market definition was wrong. And you still went out there on that limb because you this little small island and you're trying to police the world. Yeah. You're trying to regulate the world. You're trying to put too small to box with God. You don't throw rocks at the sun. You can't. What are you doing? But
to your other point, Post Up, was that the EEA, right? The EC handles for all the member countries of the EU, plus those who just want to not handle mergers. They're like, you can handle it for us.
You take care for us.
Right. The structure still exists for the UK to do the same thing. They could continue doing that. Its Parliament would just have to say, we will accept whatever the EEA does. Right. So the EEA, EC decisions are good by us. Right. They could do that. They just turn that on, right? They just turned it off. That's all they did when they did Brexit. They just turned it off because that was what they were doing. But they just let them handle it.
That's what EU put the CMA.
So they could do that today.
Very peculiar. The EU, and I think they did this as a big middle finger. Like you still our little brother. You still little son. When they came out and said, "Look, we're gonna go with behavioral remedies, right? And we're gonna get an independent agency to oversee Microsoft compliancy over the next 10 years.
Yes.
But we're going to do it globally.
Yes.
We're going to do it globally. So UK, you ain't got to worry about it. We took care of this for you, little bruh. I know you're trying to get out on your own, little bruh, but you ain't there yet. You ain't there yet, little bruh. You got a lot of growing to do. So they put the CMA in a very...
So Post, what do you think of this theory that this was all by design, and that there's no love lost between the CMA and the EU since Brexit, and anytime they can get a chance to snipe you, that's a chance to take it. So as communications has been happening, maybe there was talks that yes, come on, let's do this together. We're gonna break their resolve. Big tech bad, and in the very last minute, CMA goes, I think we're gonna go left, make them look foolish.
Somebody trying to, and I think they did. And I look at this in the same light as as Lena Khan, and I agree with my brother Everborn Saga when he said we're not against totally in principle of what Lena Khan is trying to do in terms of
No, of course not. No.
in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of the
It's
regulators, because some of the things is necessary.
Yep.
It's just the fact that where she chose to do it.
Yep.
And I look at that, you chose the wrong case. This was the wrong case to do it. And I look at the CMA in the same way in the UK. You're off on your own now. You want to show the world that you can stand on your own and do this and do that. You picked the wrong merger to do it. Not at a time where your economy is financially on the brink of being strapped. Not when businesses is questioning.
Look at the world we live
in. Out, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll come across a case that warrants the hammer. You should have just waited.
You should have waited.
Just picking up the hammer at the very next go. Like you should have waited.
You should have waited.
You know, a perfect example of that, Kay, is the ARM case. Like if they're allowed to buy that chip maker, then 85% of the world is dependent on their chips.
That's a horizontal merger, and that's where you definitely want to be careful, right?
Yeah,
that would be Sony buying Nintendo.
You're talking about NVIDIA ARM. Yeah, they couldn't do that. Would have been
you want to be careful.
No, you couldn't do that. That would have been crazy. And there was a lot of people against that deal. That was horizontal. Giving NVIDIA that much power over the chip with the prices and how that no, that would have been good. But I think you pick and choose. You pick and choose your battle. I think this was the wrong battle to choose, and I think they looked at it from the optics perspective because it's one of the biggest. It is the biggest deal in gaming, and it's one of the biggest acquisitions Microsoft has ever had in their history. And I think they're looking at the optics from that standpoint. But from it
is the biggest.
Yeah. By the way. Yep. And from an economical standpoint, in terms of your country, in ARM, who is in your country, just filed on the New York Stock Exchange. They left the London Stock Exchange.
Yep.
You got businesses leaving left and right. You got corporations questioning whether they should even invest in your country. And you want to tangle with who part of the big tech conglomerate? Let me make a phone call. Let me talk.
I do want to. You know what? I want to touch on that for a hot second, Post. Now that we have you here, because and I want to get the panel's opinion on this, because I keep saying, and I see a lot of people shooting over this theory that I have.
Mm-hmm.
There is an unbelievable, hefty political angle that people are forgetting about, and I went looking, folks. I mean, again, I only did 2 hours worth of looking and investigation. I didn't spend 24 hours doing it, but I could not find a particular merger that Parliament then called the CMA the next day to find out what is going on.
You're not.
I didn't find that. I also never found that whoever the prime minister at the time was would make a comment publicly about a decision that the CMA made. And I found it very odd that they decided to stake this hill, and obviously the political ramifications. Again, I hate politics, folks.
You know why?
Why is that, Post?
You have you have Activision is a huge company.
Yes.
Microsoft is one of the biggest software. They work for governments. I work all time. Let me tell you something. When Microsoft, when Brad Smith came out there, and even when Bobby coded, but when Brad Smith came out there with that tone and said UK was closed for business, you think that didn't reverberate around the world?
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Investors and businesses and major big tech, because all of them watching, all of them. I wouldn't be surprised. All of them was in that call, in that Teams call, watching that hearing. All of them. The UK government was there. Parliament was there. All of them was watching that call. All the regulators, big tech, small tech, all these is watching, because this is going to set the stage. This is going to help.
And by the way, while they're all watching, when they logged in, what they log into? Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
This is for to shape the landscape for mergers and acquisitions, probably for the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? And big tech needs to know if if I go to the UK and I'm trying to invest, or if I'm trying to acquire anything, it ain't even got to be in the UK. What hurdles do I have to jump over? What guidelines and things like that that's going to be set in place that I have to agree with or get over? And it's kind of blurry right now. And I'm telling you right now, if this deal go through, or if it goes through, or if it don't go through, you're gonna see the effects of it. How it might play out, I don't know. But this deal, and that's why we constantly say this deal is bigger than Microsoft, because the whole world is watching. Big tech is watching, because big tech is looking like, you mean to tell me if we spend that type of money, are we gonna have to go through the same thing that Microsoft is going through right now?
Well, how many companies can afford to hire the Queen's former attorney?
I know, right?
I mean, honestly, how about this? I didn't know this, right? Like, I risked my life chasing gun. I run to a gun run. And I was making $40 an hour as a New York City police officer. Don't get me wrong. I was paid well, but I'm just saying what I'm trying to compare that to is the Activision's attorney gets paid $5,000 an hour.
Oh yeah, they spend a big
think about that for a second, folks. He makes $5,000 an hour.
Now,
that's the former prime minister,
and he's worth it.
And guess what?
Worth every penny.
Guess what, Boom?
Yes, sir.
If Microsoft is telling the cat, we want to win this appeal, and we want the CMA to pay for our lawyers.
They did. They actually did say that. You know what?
Reiterate on that. I don't
think a lot of people know that they're going to want the CMA to pay the legal fees.
Yeah. Because you're sending us on this circus of a run, and you know you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
You know you're in the wrong. That's why when they was at that, they couldn't. That's why and if you pay attention to the judge, he was. And I know this might not seem big or anything like that because I know it's going to be 3 panel judges if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
we just
the next
saw
one's
one.
an economist.
You know what I'm saying?
The second one is an economist, so they don't need to hire an expert; they have one.
Right. And I'm looking, and you're sitting up there, and you're trying to you can't even explain why you blocked it. You can't even.
I think what's interesting. You said it before. I didn't know this because I guess that's one of the parts I turned off, or I never read it, where they said, "Hey, what if we made a mistake? Can we hire an expert to take
twice.
a look?" Wow,
he said it twice.
Okay, I mean,
I ain't gonna say we say, I ain't no snitch. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna tell on nobody. But if you want the source, we have the source of the information. If you get what I mean, I ain't gonna tell on nobody, but we have the source where you can hear.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's. I will say this, folks, and I'm going to get to the super chats. First of all, we are closing in on 900 people here, which is bananas. I honestly am always shocked and incredibly humbled by the amount of people that turn out for these shows. I honestly can't thank you enough. Again, this is still a small channel, and to have this many people, again, I say this all the time, and I say it with unbelievable respect. When you look across the board and you see Colt Eastwood and you see Dealer Gaming and you see Rand, Thor, and their numbers are, a 1K, like, first of all, Rand had 2,000 people on Friday's show, I being one of them, because I love him and Jez very much. And that's crazy. So for a small channel like this to have nearly 900 people here, I cannot thank you enough. So again, I do want to ask, if you're new and you're finding the channel, we are just under 500 away from 13K. I'd love to hit it before the showcase in June. Would be dope. If you're new, please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. But let me catch up on the super chats. And again, folks, I know that I had planned to talk about the Xbox showcase, but being that we have Post up here, I'm still waiting for Everborn to show up because he was coming from work. And if I can get him here, we'll get his hot take. But let me just catch up on the super chats because there's been, a lot of them. First one of the day comes away from our Archelaus Prime. Drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Give Tango Gameworks a shot at Banjo. Perfect pair." I wouldn't be against that, to be honest with you. I think that would be kind of dope. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "The CMA's attorney reminded me of Rick Moranis' attorney from Ghostbusters 2. The cat judge asked the CMA if he needed help from Microsoft attorney. Jesus Christmas. Stuff Sean, shout out to you, brother. He just a very generous £5 super chat and says, CMA, hey, Mr. Judge, if we screwed up on our decision, is there any chance we can get an independent expert in just in case they find something we didn't? Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, like I said, the fact that they even mentioned our attorneys might be on vacation, Your Honor, so we're gonna have to push this further out. I mean, I sat in courtrooms and I've seen people destroyed by judges. I would never say that to a judge. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like I said, this is where Microsoft's attorneys are the college graduates with honors, and the grade schoolers were the CMA attorneys. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, pretty much. That's all, folks. Yeah, it's just crazy.
That's all, folks.
Raintree 4 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, CMA acts like Microsoft is trying to get parole. To get parole, Shawshank Redemption vibes. Oh my goodness, the scandal. Highlander 001 drops an additional $2. Super chat says the CMA will fold before June 12th. I don't know about folding before. I have a strong suspicion that on the 12th, if I think everyone has said it, Hargeet said it, Post has said it, that if what happened yesterday or the day before happens again on June 12th, I think the CMA is going to be like, yep, white flag, let's go. We're going to make a deal because we're just getting embarrassed. And mind you, this was done on publicly, and I think everyone has said it already. People from the UK government are watching this, and could you imagine if you're the prime minister and you have to go to make these big decisions, and you're like, okay, CMA, they're supposed to be for us, and this, they're supposed to be the top notch CMA, the best, and you see this happening, and you're like, well, I would be embarrassed. Phone calls have had to have been made right after that 4-hour hearing. Let's see, we got Stuff Sean drops a very generous £5 super chat. Let's see, did I miss some? Okay, yeah, Rain G4 drops a $5 super chat and says CMAX. Okay, I read that one. Okay, so another Stuff Sean £5 super chat says day 6 of Cat Tribunal, Microsoft lawyer in navy whites. Did you order a code red? CMA, you're goddamn right I did. Phil Spencer kissing Demi Moore.
Nice.
Wow,
that's great.
Good visuals. Good visuals. That's good.
Sean.
Well done.
Amazing. Rain G4 drops a very generous additional $2 super chat and says CMA acts like Stewart from Mad TV. Yeah, that's hilarious, dude. That's funny. That is funny. Let me do it. Leonard Herrera, a good friend of the program, drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, top-notch panel, great respect. Well, brother, thank you for the very generous $20 super chat. And, of course, thank you for always being here. Leonard, definitely appreciate that. Your baby's father, it drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, hey, Boom, chat, everyone's breakdown of the CMA's hearing on Post-Up Show was masterful.
Yes.
I'm a new fan of the Gaming Circle podcast. Love as always, Boom, brother.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. And yes, Gaming Circle, amazing. And Post Up,
The man was in his bag.
He was cooking, wasn't
he? He was cooking,
man.
cooking. And I know it pains. It pains Mr. Brother K. Asante to give any credit to Everborn. It's like nails on a chalkboard, fam.
He's only his co-host. It's okay.
He's earned his slanderous title for a reason. I appreciate that.
Hey, Everborn DM me. He said, I got a few minutes. A few minutes turned into a couple hours.
I suspect so.
Enigmatic Dreams drops a very generous $5. Super chat says ABK has TMNT published rights, so we can get an exclusive Ninja Theory Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game because they would be perfect. Also, they should buy Capcom. I didn't know they had the rights to that, but that would be kind of dope.
Did you see the Kotick interview that they were apparently trying to buy Warner?
They were trying to buy Warner Brothers. Yeah,
they wanted to do their games. They wanted to, be able to use their IPs with them and vice versa for movies. And
Could you imagine? That?
Wow.
Well, that didn't happen. Maybe that happens.
Man, it could
You know,
still happen.
I think it still happens under Microsoft because that's another vertical integration.
That would be
All
vertical
right,
because
let's
Microsoft
hit the
has
pie
no
out of the sky.
has no thumbprint in movies.
in
film.
movies and none of that, and
Yeah,
so
and
it should be
comics.
easy. Hopefully it'll be easy.
And I think everyone actually mentioned that today. He said it would be 27 billion currently if they wanted to buy them. So literally,
Wow.
Not bad.
yeah,
Peanuts in comparison.
and understand, folks. Again, we're not talking about it right now, but 27 billion for Warner Brothers would include all of DC.
We got that
Batman,
easy. We got
Superman,
27
Harry
billion right now.
Potter.
So this would be the
Matrix.
entire organization,
No.
not just the gaming division.
No, this is
entire-
the whole thing.
all of
kit
it.
and caboodle.
Wow.
27 billion, everything.
Yeah. I think that'd
Comics,
be.
movies, everything.
Wow.
I think that'd be good. In terms of for Microsoft because, Sony has that that vertical integration ability in terms of music and movies. Studio with across all
And
the IP.
TV shows.
Yeah, and they could keep all their stuff in house. They don't
can
have to
keep it
go
all
outside
in-house.
themselves to do it. And I think from gaming, from transmedia, even if you go back to the ancient word of the metaverse, you will need all that to kind of build from there. So it'll be
It would-
interesting.
and
I
they
think
need
they
it.
could do it. I
They
think could do
actually
other
need
side
it.
is
And,
they
and
need it.
again, folks,
Because
it's
they're
a
under debt, lots of
possibility.
debt.
Yeah, they have a lot of debt. Microsoft has a lot of money.
We
So
got 27 billion, even after the 70 billion. We got it.
27 billion is currently in the couch
quarters.
cushion of Phil
Yes,
Spencer.
2 quarters.
Yeah,
Two quarters
Two
in game.
quarters.
we got that. What Microsoft had over 150 some billion in cash they had to spend.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, they can afford that. But Fantis Archer drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, to think why the CMA would risk their careers, operations, and reputation over an issue fueled by an FTC idealist that only benefits them personally more than the CMA. It's sad. Very well said. Highlander 001 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Diablo 4 goes live for those who got gold and deluxe. I got it, yes, but I can't play because, well, Mrs. Boom is exhausted from work, so we're probably going to play on the weekend, and I'm going to give it the old college effort once again. I did get the $100 edition. Samurai S drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, that smile on Brad Smith's face earlier says it all. The energy is different compared to last December. And Highlander 001 drops an additional $5 super chat and says, at the VGAs, I can see Phil Spencer taking the stage when Starfield and Diablo 4 win awards. Never mind whatever else they release that may win. That would be kind of dope. I mean, I kind of feel like the fix is always in with those the game awards. I mean, like I said, I understand.
I mean, look, motorsport has a good chance of winning sport, right? So
yeah.
So there's a good chance there, and Starfield could win like best RPG.
Yes, 100%,
there's very likely that possibility. Diablo is also an RPG, so right, they have some good potential, right? So I wouldn't discount them winning something.
We live in a world where merit matters less. So I don't know, man.
Right.
We live in a world where merit
is going to
matters
be nominated
less.
for everything.
I mean, if you remember,
Psychonauts was nominated for Gotti, right? So don't put it past them, right? So Forza Horizon 5 did win the sport game, right? So like I don't think it's that rigged. I think they Diablo is a big game. It will get recognized.
Dude,
Starfield, it's Bethesda. It's going to get recognized.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's for all those games. Sorry, the Gotti's already been decided.
Tears of the Kingdom is already out here.
It's already
taking names. Exactly.
So they have a reason. I'm quite enjoying it. It's 50 hours.
90 versus 96.
Yeah, they have a righteous reason to be like, sorry, they have a righteous reason.
How dare you play on a potato?
They don't care, dude. And I didn't either. I finished that game. Tears of the Kingdom is fantastic.
You finished it?
It is good. Oh, yeah.
And for the record, it's not a potato. It's an abacus. Get it straight.
You might have noticed I wasn't doing anything on Xbox because I was playing Tears of the Kingdom when that came out. That was it. That's
all I'm playing right now. I can't get away from it. Yeah, I'm lost in it. I keep going for the shrines. I haven't even played most of the story. It's ridiculous what I'm doing with that game. Real quick, Lucius Augustus drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, weeks ago, people told me Cat would take 8 months to go to trial. Turns out In reality, the trial will be held for 6 to 10 days, and then a decision is made. Yeah, this is fast tracking, unlike anything we've seen before.
Yeah,
the judge wants to have finished in 4 days. It's like, but we'll have 6 days. That'll probably be our target. But he wants to go for 4 days.
Yeah.
We're done in a week.
Like, I think they got enough on their plate, man. I just, you know, and I think low key, I think there's pressure there. Whether people believe it or not, I think there is definitely
pressure, brother.
Political pressure there for them to fix their situation that they put themselves in.
Well, real quick, Raiden Blade drops an additional 2-pound super chats. The first one, he says CMA just handed Khan a sack and jail time. Someone's gonna turn on somebody. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So you're gonna see there's gonna be a beef and there's gonna be a crack down the line. Someone is going to turn, and maybe it's the CMA first, and then Lena Khan and the FTC are the ones on an island, or it's going to be the other way around. But something is going to happen, and like I said, collusion is a crime, and you never want to see anyone go to jail. But you also sometimes people's ideologies. Sometimes you want to win so bad that you don't mind cheating, and that is.
Say that again.
Well,
yeah. So,
say that again.
Yeah. So, yeah. Sometimes you want to win so bad that you cheat. Don't do it. I'm just saying. Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says, watch the entire case management hearing, and it was great. Looking good for Microsoft. Do we know if that hearing is available online now or at all? I actually don't know.
I don't think it is.
It's not.
Based on how they kept saying, "Hey, do not record
this."
I don't think
they're going to transcribe it. They're going to transcribe it though. So we just got to wait till they upload the transcript, which I think they're going to do. But as far as seeing it in video, I don't think so.
I don't know, man. I think if you missed it, you missed it. Which
and
is
ain't
a shame.
nobody gonna upload it because
you will go to jail. They will come for you. Yeah. So the last one of the night comes away of AJH. Drops a very generous £2 super chat and says Microsoft should buy WB and Capcom. Evo is around. Just saying. Evo is redundant. Just saying. Yeah, I mean, it's important to some people. Like, I never really cared too much for it. But look, we are at the 2-hour mark, folks, and we have covered this to death. I don't think we can actually say anything more than we have already said. This has been an amazing 2 hours. Look, at the end of the day, what happened was the CMA was embarrassed. And as we know, this was televised. Many people in Parliament, many people, like the Prime Minister, no doubt were watching this. And I got to tell you.
Are they upset, Boo?
I'm
going to say that after watching
calls, yeah, they got called to the principal's office. Let's just say that. And probably the shellacking that they took live on camera is probably not going to be as bad as the shellacking they're going to take behind the doors.
Yes,
because it was embarrassing. And the fact that they were stuttering, the fact that they couldn't, the fact that they mentioned, what if we got it wrong? Could we go hire someone else to figure that out? I can't believe that.
Unfathomable, right?
What?
You're saying that to the judge? Really?
I'm shocked. That's just, and again, Hargeet, it's as bad as saying, hey, listen, Your Honor, I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to be on vacation, so we're going to have to push this out.
We might be smarter.
I don't know. I mean, that was like,
twice. He said twice too. Well, we would rather, and that's basically saying, look, we don't want to have to admit we was wrong again. So we want a third party agency to do it for us.
It's again, as Cargie said,
let's just go messy as hell. Why not?
It's gross. But listen, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us for 2 hours. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm sitting down for the new episode of X Vlog Live with I Steel Rain, one half of Living Split Screen. And folks, the rumors, the speculation, Xbox maybe have let the cat out of the bed. Melissa McGame Pass showed a video of following what looked to be pixie dust. folks, I'm telling you, Fable is going to be there, and they kind of let the cat out of the bag. If it's not there, I'm going to be calling foul, because the music that they use, a lot of people in the community,
Fable-like,
that
right?
is Fable music, folks. That is actual Fable music.
Boom. We should have talked about that, man. I have thoughts anyway.
And they say the glitter was
you got the
used
Gaming
to,
Circle podcast,
Maybe
right?
you'll have to
they said the
Everybody's
glitter
tuning
was
in.
used to
Join us
lead you to
Friday.
certain locations in Fable.
We will see. But listen, let's get to the outros, and we'll start first with Crispy Bomb. First of all, Crispy, obviously you were a part of Primetime Gaming for a very long time. You've moved on, and obviously you're with us on Breakfast with Boom. I'm already planning an amazing show for Friday morning at 10 a.m. Please, by all means, sell your brand. What do you got going on, and where can people follow the Crispy Truth on social media?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling good, people. It is always great to be the Batman, but at the end of the day, I love being a part of gaming in general, and speaking my truth, and that's what matters. At Chris Baum on Twitter, Chris Baum 28 Xbox Live. You can find me on Breakfast of Boom. That is all.
Well, thank you, brother.
We'll
We
see
can't
you
wait
then.
can't wait to have you there on Friday morning, putting on a killer show. Specifically, we're going to talk about Destin Legary's article, which I read, and it's phenomenal. It's about Xbox, the PlayStation show, basically being good for Xbox, and he's 100% right. But Hargeet Chani, sell your brand. I saw there was another very saucy video from Gaz today that went live. And come on, who doesn't love Gaz and his shenanigans? I'm not a fan of the septic sauce. I like the regular sauce. Septic sauce, not so much for me. It's a little over the top, but I do love the sauce. And well, it is Gaz. And obviously Asa, and you guys do an amazing job over at Game On Daily. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand.
Yeah, if you didn't catch last go live, you should definitely check it out with Colt. Oh no, it's Alex and Fertanga. Oh my God, they go nuts. It was crazy.
It was messy. It was, yeah. And Alex was who he was as well. So
oh my God, it was so good. So check that out. And yes, the sauce video just dropped, and it was about the showcase for the PlayStation Showcase.
Yes,
and all the hype and where it started and where people ended up. It was pretty good. So check that out. And I'm also, I'm on RDX. That's every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, US. And then right here, Primetime Gaming. Though next week, I will not be at Primetime Gaming because I'll be flying to LA to watch the Keeley show on next Thursday. Well, yeah, so usually 7 p.m. US Eastern Time. And tomorrow, we will still have the Zealots of Gaming. So on Zocker 87's channel. And so Shady, me, and Zocker will be talking about our expectations. I won't be on the next one, so our expectations of the showcases, what we might see at Keeley's, what we might see at the Xbox showcase. So check that out. That's 8 p.m. US Eastern Time as well. So yeah, and then we'll have fun with the showcases, and I'll come back and we'll talk about what we thought about
what
the
we saw and what
right?
we didn't see.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, thanks so much, Hargi. And obviously, we'll talk before then, but enjoy your trip for sure. And Kay Asante, listen, I know that you were jazzed to talk about the potential half steps or the failings of a Fable announcement, which maybe should, but we
don't get me started, Boom.
Maybe you pop on tomorrow for 15 minutes while we're live, and you kind of just you just go ham, brother. Sell your brand. Talk about the Gaming Circle podcast and where people can subscribe, and more importantly, where can people follow you on social media?
Oh well, no, don't get me started. We're almost at 2 hours. I don't want to get it to 4 hours. Stop it. No, thank you guys so much for being here. It was a great show as usual. Great panel members, of course. Always great topics. You put on a good show as usual, Boom. So
thanks
sir. For the invite as usual. And it's been a very interesting week of news, and you can catch more of that from us. For me, we didn't get to have a show last week, so this week will be super interesting. We're gonna get back into the saddle and catch up on all the great stuff we missed on GCP. Gaming Circle Podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with myself and Everborn Saga. I'm sure there will be a lot to discuss this weekend. I have a feeling what you saw on Post Up's podcast is a preamble to what's going to happen on the Gaming Circle podcast. I will most likely have a 4-hour podcast on my hands. So,
preamble. Can anyone cite the preamble?
It will be interesting. But you know what? Actually, before I go, I will also plug my new show that I am doing with the man, Mr. John Wolf. Yes. After all the ridiculous slander that's been going on in these gaming streets here, I thought myself and John Wolf should do a service for the community and start a new show we're calling The Gamers Playground, which is a show we're aiming to use to bring people in. It's a safe space where we can demystify the monolith known as PCMR. So come join us.
What?
And if you have questions, we'll talk to you about it. You know, you could dip your toe in the water and realize it's fine, and you don't have to worry about drivers.
Ally, right?
Exactly. All that stuff. Right? All that stuff is part of it.
Sounds like that Game On Daily thing that I had listened to the other day.
He's being very graybeard right now. Get off my lawn type stuff. You know? No, but come check us out. That'll be Monday nights, 7 p.m. I should say. We're trying to keep it brisk, an hour on that one. So come check us out. We're having fun, talking PC stuff, talking to handhelds, all that stuff. So 7 p.m. I keep doing that. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday nights. So yes, it was a great show, and looking forward to coming back on Wednesday again to do all this all over again. And hopefully we'll be talking more definitives about this whole ABK thing. Yes.
Yeah, it's great. You know what? I can't wait to get past ABK so we talk about WB, because that's probably what's next. That would be kind of dope.
Probably.
I'd say Japan next, and then maybe WB. But
okay. Sega, right? Capcom, whatever. Listen, I'm here for it, ladies and gentlemen. And last and no way least, Post Up, brother. Thank you so much for dropping the knowledge as you have on social media. Like I said, you held the line, as King David says, when people were calling you tinfoil hat wearer. There's no way there's collusion. There's no way the CMA is going to lose. Cat's going to just send it right back and it's going to be done. The deal is blocked. You and Foss Patents stood strong, and I have learned a lot from you, from the information you've posted. Please sell your brand. Tell everyone that if they want more of what they heard tonight, what they see on Twitter almost by every other minute, where they can not only follow you on social media, but more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Oh, definitely. Y'all come through. Support your boy. I need it. Let me tell you something. I need it. You can either go to Post Up on YouTube or State of Gaming. Either one is going to pull up the content. I need y'all to hit the like button, the subscribe button, support your boy. Come over when we have our shows on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Central. And then we're starting to go live throughout the week as more people ask us to be be more active in terms of being live. On Twitter, I'm at postup_SOG. So definitely pull up and support. And Boom, is always a pleasure coming on your platform. It's always a pleasure working out with K Asante, Hard Geek, and we got Crispy Bomb up there. He real crispy up there. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So I enjoy my time with all of you all, with all of y'all. It is always a pleasure coming on here and having conversations with you all.
Well, brother, it's great to have you again, and obviously keep doing the gaming lord's work as you normally do. We certainly appreciate it. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I want to close out the show with saying a big thank you to near 900 people that we had here today, as well as a huge thank you to all the super chats, folks. You don't understand how that does power the channel behind the scenes in more way than one. Mrs. BoomStick and I are incredibly grateful for your generosity that you continue to do, not only through the super chats, but through the channel memberships as well. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.